Our most common ARES activity is the SkyWarn Net. Without bragging too much, we do a pretty good job of that here in Denton County, but we can always improve the effectiveness and the quality of the information that we provide to the Weather Service. Many of you attend our monthly ARES training nets, and we thank you for that. Others of you are not able to make the nets, and we understand that as well. We're providing this information as a reminder and a refresher to everybody that contributes during SkyWarn Nets, whether you attend our training nets or not, and whether you're an experienced storm spotter or not. Let's work together to improve the quality of our SkyWarn Nets and to minimize the clutter and noise on the repeater that can arise during these nets from incorrect message formatting and transmissions. Before we get started, I need to emphasize the importance and the value of attending Storm Spotter training. This is provided annually, free of charge, by the National Weather Service. The next class in Denton County is January 16th, and this year is offered online only via webinar. Please go to the webpage of the Fort Worth office of the National Weather Service for the links to sign up for this session or for offerings given to other counties in the region. Think for a minute about who our audience is during SkyWarn Nets. Our primary audience is the National Weather Service forecasters. The Weather Service is our primary customer during these nets. Local emergency managers who listen in also can be our customers. It's especially important to remember this when we're making reports on the net. They rely on trained spotters to be their eyes in the field, to paint the picture that they cannot see on radar or through the tools they have in their office. The information that we relay helps to augment what they see in their systems and is a crucial element in determining when warnings and alerts need to be broadcast to the public. The reports that we make need to be firsthand, accurate, and concise. It needs to be what we actually observe with our eyes and ears. We should avoid relaying third-hand reports, and we need to be reporting our observations. Be aware that any reports of weather which you have heard from the media, or over a scanner, or from citizens are not always from trained spotters. The Weather Service may ask us to confirm a citizen or law enforcement report. So, what types of weather are we interested in? What is it we're trying to report? These are the who, what, where, when, whys of what we're spotting. First off, what is it you're reporting? Is it hail? Is it a wall cloud? What is it? Next, when did it occur? When did you see this? Did you just now see it, or what, did you see it earlier? Location. Where are you and where are you looking? Where did this occur? Where was the hail, or where did you see the funnel? If you are relaying any quantified data, things such as wind speed or hail size, was that measured or was it estimated? And finally, what is the magnitude of any damage that you're reporting? If it's tree branches broken, how big are the tree branches? 1 inch, 3 inch, 5 inch, etc. Primarily, the Weather Service is looking for information on tornadoes or signs that one may be developing. Things such as funnel clouds, strongly rotating wall clouds, etc. Also, they want to know about any flash flooding, rapidly rising water in areas that don't typically flood. The Weather Service also has a high priority on large hail. That would be hail that's larger than 3/4 of an inch in diameter. That's penny size or larger. Now, within this information, some is more critical than others. Urgent priority would be tornadoes, funnel clouds, rotating wall clouds, flash flooding. Next, but still high priority, they're looking for large hail. That's 3/4 of an inch in diameter or greater. Strong winds, that would be 58 miles per hour or greater. Persistent non-rotating wall clouds, and rainfall of more than an inch per hour. Lower priority would be smaller hail, that would be 1/2 inch diameter or smaller. Winds over 40 miles per hour, and cloud features that would suggest storm organization. There may also be locally defined criteria. Net control will define minimum reporting criteria based on the current situation and information. What is the priority at that time? It's very important that all operators listen for and adhere to minimum reporting criteria. If the report you're about to make does not rise to the level of the current MRC, we ask you please hold that report and monitor the net. So what kind of information are we not looking for to be reported on a SkyWarn net? Well, first off is your interpretation of a radar scan. You may use the radar in the field, but it's the Weather Service who interprets the radar. If you're in the field spotting and report that you see something on a radar that you have on your phone or your PC, you may not be paying enough attention to your surroundings, and it could put your safety at risk. Net Control uses radar for spotter placement, but it's the Weather Service that has the radar and are more qualified to interpret it than we are. Also, it's never appropriate to troubleshoot technical problems on the air during a SkyWarn net. If you know you're having issues with your equipment, or you're advised that you are, you need to take your station off the frequency in use and troubleshoot the problem either on a discrete frequency or at another time. Also inappropriate are announcements of non-event related activities or asking if a net is in progress. If in doubt, exercise the release to listen method. That is, listen for either net control to state that a net is in progress or for the repeater to announce it. As we said before, deviating from the minimum reporting criteria is never appropriate. Additionally, things such as clear sky reports, lightning reports, light wind reports, or media or scanner-derived reports are also information that we do not need to be putting out in SkyWarn nets. The Weather Service specifically has stated they do not want rates of rainfall reports. Those are notoriously inaccurate. Flash flooding reports will be requested at the appropriate time. If you do come up on a roadway that is blocked and impassable, report if the barricades are not already in place. It does not take much of a difference in water flow to sweep a vehicle like a Suburban or a large 3/4 ton truck off the road. The size of the vehicle is irrelevant. If you drive through it, though, do not report it as a road blockage. If you drove through it, it's not blocked. Again, we just want to emphasize that the goal for SkyWarn is to gather and send relevant severe weather information as observed by trained spotters to the National Weather Service. Let me talk now about checking into the net. There are times during a SkyWarn net when conditions are serious and we need to limit the check-ins to the net. We need to limit the amount of traffic on the air. The Weather Service then can focus on the vital observations and reports that we're providing. During these times, the net control may limit or even stop net check-ins and only want operators with actual observations that meet the minimum reporting criteria to call in. As a general guideline, If you're not in the affected area of the county where the storm is and cannot get there quickly and safely, we ask you please do not check into the net. We do ask that you stand by and monitor the net. Then you can check in if the conditions at your location change and when the storm approaches your area. This keeps the traffic and noise down so we can hear those higher priority reports. Finally, estimations. It's great if we have instrumentation or tools to measure the wind speed and hail size. More often, though, we don't have these in the field with us when we're out spotting. So our estimations can easily be wrong. The Weather Service published guidelines for estimating both hail size and wind speed. Let's address first wind speed. It's quite easy to overestimate wind speed, and we see this. Use the following guidelines when you're not able to measure the actual wind speed. What we want to avoid is the example of somebody reporting 45 or 50 mile an hour winds when they're actually 35 to 40. So, starting out with a strong breeze. This is large branches and small trees, and their leaves begin to sway. You may also see waves start to crest on the lakes. Stronger breezes of 25 to 31 miles per hour, you'll start seeing larger branches in continuous motion. You could also hear whistling sounds being heard from overhead or nearby power and telephone lines. It becomes difficult to use an umbrella at this speed as well. Approaching gale force winds, that would be 32 to 38 miles per hour. Now you can see whole trees in motion, and it starts to become difficult to walk against the wind. In gale force winds of 39 to 46 miles per hour, that's when you see twigs and smaller branches, those would be 1 to 3 inch diameter, start to break. Wind also is now generally impeding your walking. It's becoming harder to walk. Stronger gales, that would be 47 to 54 miles per hour. If you're reporting that, there typically will be structural damage starting to occur. Things such as chimney covers being blown off, roofing tiles blown off, damaged antennas. This is also when you're seeing the ground littered with many small twigs and broken branches. Whole gale force winds, that's 55 to 63 miles per hour. Considerable structural damage is now occurring, especially on roofs. You also may see small trees blown over and even uprooted. Storm force winds, now we're into the 64 to 75 mile an hour range. You're going to be seeing widespread damage. Larger trees are now being blown over and uprooted. Finally, hurricane force winds are over 75 miles per hour. At this phase, we're seeing extensive and severe damage. This is when we can see entire roofs peeled off or windows broken, larger trees uprooted, RVs and mobile homes overturned. Also be aware that at this point, moving automobiles can be pushed off the roadways. So don't be in your car trying to drive down 75 mile an hour winds. It's not safe. If we talk next about hail size, some guidelines on estimating hail size. When you do this, let me note that hailstones typically are not perfect spheres. They can be odd shaped, so we want to measure on the widest part, from the widest points of that hailstone. Pea-sized hail you hear us refer to, that's small 1/4 inch diameter hail. Mothball is 1/2 inch. You go to penny, nickel, and quarter size as you move from 3/4 of an inch up to 1 inch in diameter. 1.25 inches, that's your $half size hail. Ping pong ball size and golf ball, that's 1.5 inches to 1.75 inches in size and diameter. Hen egg or chicken egg, that would be 2-inch hail. Tennis ball size hail, that would be 2.5 inch hail. Now we're really getting into the big stuff. The baseball size hail is 2 3/4 inch diameter. Large apples would be 3-inch. Softball size hail, we're looking at 4-inch diameter hail. And finally, 4.5 inch diameter hail is grapefruit large hail, damaging hail. Note also that when reporting half-inch diameter hail, do not use the term marble. Marbles come in many sizes, so it's not accurate. Also, in areas prone to severe weather, some offices may not want to hear reports with small hail. That'd be half-inch diameter and smaller. So listen for minimum reporting criteria and please adhere to that. So now that we understand what the information the Weather Service is looking for, we need to make sure we understand how to use good technique and radio etiquette when reporting those details on the net. The Weather Service radio operator has top priority with the exception of any report that is for an imminent threat to life or property. So if you hear WX5FWD or Weather Service make a call on the net, we need you to please stand by before making your own report. Make sure you wait that half second after pushing PTT before you start speaking. That way you're not going to quick key. Often we see and hear stations chop off the first part of their call sign because they're speaking too quickly. So wait that half second after you press PTT. Also, make sure you don't tailgate or quick key after other transmissions. Tailgating and quick keying creates two issues. First of all, stations with emergency traffic may not be able to be heard by the net. Also, a quick key or tailgate can cause life or death traffic to be delayed. If you pause between transmission, this allows other stations with priority traffic to check into the net and post a report. A quiet net with transmissions limited to reporting criteria, that's a huge asset. It makes it easier to place a report or for the Weather Service to contact stations. Please be aware that the Weather Service operators may be working several radios and spotter nets across the warning area, not just in Denton County. If we have too much noise or unnecessary transmissions on our net, it could force the Weather Service radio operator to mute or turn down the audio on our net so that they can take other reports. And then if we do have actual important traffic that they need to hear, they may not hear it. So how are we going to format a good spotter report? First, let's talk about your location. Please report your location in proximity to a city or a town. For example, I'm 3 miles east of Denton on Highway 380, or I'm a mile south of the city of Corinth. We need to avoid giving minor street intersections that are in towns or counties, except as required by local nets or by emergency management. The Weather Service may not have knowledge of those streets. It causes time to be spent looking on maps that may not have radar data on them. So we prefer that you reference, and the Weather Service prefers that you reference locations from major highways and roads instead of local city streets. Make sure you don't key up yet. Think about your report. Get it formed in your head first. If the system is active, in other words, if there's somebody giving a report already, you need to wait for that other transmission to complete. When you're ready, key up and wait that half second after you press PTT. Then clearly give your call sign and unkey. You need to wait to be acknowledged by net control. When net control does acknowledge you, go ahead and key up, wait that half second after pressing PTT, and then give your report. If net control needs a clarification, they'll ask you for it and for what they need to know so they can get a complete report from you. Be prepared to repeat the entire report just in case the Weather Service asks for the last report to be given. Some examples of a complete report would be, this is K5YX. I'm 3 miles west of Denton on Highway 380. I have golf ball sized hail, K5YX. Or, this is K5YX. I am 4 miles west of Crum. I have a lowering to my northeast. I do not see rotation at this time, K5YX. Lastly, another example would be, this is K5YX. I'm on the south side of the city of Justin. I see a tornado to my northwest moving east, K5YX. Your report is accepted when Net Control acknowledges your report. Please be ready to repeat your report or to provide more information if asked. Depending on what it is you're reporting, the Weather Service may also ask questions. Lastly, I want to remind you that the ProSign break is to be used only for an imminent threat to life or property. Some other considerations and good practices. Watch the level of your voice when you're giving your report. If you're speaking too loudly, it could distort and cause audio problems. Also, if you're a weak signal station on a repeater, it may make understanding the report even more difficult. You could even knock yourself out of the repeater. If Net Control states that there's a problem with your report, or you have an audio issue, or that you're not making the repeater, you need to please check your system settings, or if you're on a repeater or link, and try to improve your location before you try again. The only exception would be if you have a report of an imminent threat to life or property. If you're told 3 times that you have an audio or a system issue, we need you to please check out of the net. You're taking up valuable time on the air. So if I sum it up, the goal of SkyWarn is to gather and send relevant and severe weather information as observed by trained spotters to the National Weather Service. The collection of this information needs to happen in a timely fashion and with minimal delays. The information is used to issue local weather warnings. Those warnings can potentially save people's lives or keep them from getting hurt. Delaying the information flow is similar to delaying an emergency vehicle from getting to the hospital. The time we use incorrectly could cause delays in warnings or could cause a warning to expire or be canceled prematurely. Your participation as a volunteer is greatly appreciated. These guidelines are intended to help the SkyWarn Net run smoothly and efficiently and to get the needed information to the correct people. The more professional we appear in operation improves our value to the public and government agencies. While amateur is our title, behaving amateurish is a detriment to that value. You can find these guidelines and other ARES-related information on the web at denton-ares.org.